what, but
well, these minutes don't say I called in.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because,
It was like right during the executive session, right?
yeah.
So afterwards,
And then I guess there was a simultaneous adjournment of the executive session and the meeting. Because I asked on the phone, was that to end the executive session? And you said no, to end the meeting. So there was one adjournment for the whole thing.
no, that's not correct.
No, they come out
No.
of executive session.
We came out of that.
And then I called you back. And then Jennifer talked to you guys. And rescheduled. You were on the phone when Jennifer was there, right?
Okay. Yes,
So-
yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So I know that I called you back right after the executive session was over. So I'll put that
Okay.
you were present via telephone
Yes.
at 10:28.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was the scheduled meeting was at 10:30. So I called in at, yeah, it was, if you adjourned at 10:28, I had called in right at 10:30, somewhere, yeah, a few minutes before maybe.
Yeah, because you tried calling while we were in exec. Okay, so I added, remember Alexis Blue was present via telephone at 10:28.
I believe you asked for an executive session under attorney-client.
I have a head cold, so I can't hardly hear, so was that to me? Was that question to me here?
Oh, I just said, as I remember, they were asking for an executive session under attorney-client. I don't know if you can amend the minutes. We didn't. They asked for attorney-client. They didn't give a specific reason.
Yeah, Dawn has attorney-client in there. She has, for consultation with an attorney for the public body or agency, which would be deemed privilege under the attorney-client relationship.
I think that's the way it's written on
Yeah, well, there's
the
no,
form when you ask for an executive session for attorney-client.
but there's no subject matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the subject matter is what's missing. I don't know who's missing the amended
I
budget.
got this one. I think this was Terry. Yeah, thank you.
Don, the law requires that you record the executive motion exactly as it was made. You can offer, I suppose, as a clerk, you can put any additional supportive information the commission would like to correct it, but the original motion is made, has to be recorded in the minutes as it was. I'll provide you guys an Attorney General opinion from this year. You can't summarize or restate the motion, and I as you know, I did file a complaint as the motion was improper last week, and I don't want to have to file another complaint for not recording the motions made. So it's important.
I recorded the motion as made.
Okay, good.
Just that I added the pursuant to the statute, cited the statute. That's how I've always done it.
Okay.
It's worded.
There's no
You
subject.
worded it according to exactly how it's.
He just
offered in
didn't
the
say
statute.
pursuant to KSA, blah, 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 which is what I put in. The motion was that I recess into executive session to discuss attorney-client privilege. So I just added the KSA part of it, which is what I always do, every motion. I did not put the subject to agenda.
I think what he's saying is it would technically say Aljo Wallace moved to recess into executive session for 5 minutes under attorney-client privilege. Period. Because I think that's all he said.
But that's not what he said.
Yes, it is.
Well, understood. I mean, you have the authority to do what you want, but I'm just telling you.
What are you saying the verbatim was?
You know what? I'm on the agenda, and I don't want to waste your time or take up your time. I think the information that I'm bringing you in my agenda slot will make my concern clear as to why the motion as made is supposed to be recorded in the minutes as it's made, and not summarized by the clerk.
I guess that you can strike the rest of it, just leave the attorney-client, because that's what he asked for.
Did you hear that, Dawn?
And in the future, we'll just make sure we read the entire paragraph, so that no one is confused by it.
But Terry, I think what the missing concept is here, there was no subject matter given, so even if it is attorney-client privilege, you still have to state a second reason, which would be the subject matter, which would be employee discipline, or some human resource issue. You know, you'd have to actually identify. You can't just say attorney-client privilege.
I believe that's what he said, and he explained that he didn't know what the purpose was at the time. So,
I'm talking about the motion, though.
well, there's nothing in the minutes about what it was about that I see.
Right. That's what the error is.
I think originally he said that he was wanting to recess an executive session for attorney-client. Then I said, you can't recess into executive session because there's no attorney. But I don't know if that was Michael or whether that was you. Then, when Jennifer got here, I think the motion just said, I recess an executive session for attorney.
Yes.
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 And I'm sorry, but I have always cleaned up your guys' motions to make them appropriate, but I can strike everything and put for attorney. But I think that's pretty much the verbatim what it was.
Yes. I think you're right. But I was listening to it, so.
I was just trying to not put parentheses behind to point out that maybe you guys are inappropriate at times.
So then let's amend it. You add your parentheses around the rest of the citation of the statute.
And I did not put the statute number in there. I thought I did, but.
Right. Maybe you can, within your parentheses, cite the statute. That way we know that that's a notation from you.
Sounds satisfactory to me.
So I'm going to strike out for consultation with an attorney for public body or agency, which would be deemed privileged in attorney-client relationship, and just put for attorney.
Yes.
And then in the bottom, then I'm going to recopy that and put it in parentheses.
Sure.
I would move to approve the minutes as corrected.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Okay.
Okay, Sionia, I guess you have come to visit with us today.
Actually, we have the budget hearing first. Sorry.
Hospital.
Terry might not have been in here when I said that. We have the advertised budget hearing at 10:15. I forgot to put it on the agenda, but it was advertised that we would have the budget hearing
Oh, okay.
at 10:15.
All right.
To amend the budgets.
We'll open the budget hearing. Purpose of which is to amend the budget, to finish out the year.
To approve the minutes.
Yes, as corrected.
I did, I'll do a second.
Yes.
I think I was still correcting.
So those are the rural fire department's own proposals, right? For their changes,
Yeah.
correct? So we just have general fund and road and bridge.
So we have to do the fire departments too.
I mean, we approved them, but we didn't change that. They had a,
No,
they
they
sold a
did, yeah.
property, it said
Yeah.
they sold something, and they have additional interest on idle funds. Is that the sale of the building? Did they sell
I believe that's
to
correct.
the city building in Sylvan? And I don't know what the first rural fire district change is. The cash balance is higher. Miscellaneous, what does that mean, Dawn? They have $5,800 added in miscellaneous on the amendment for the 2018
They
budget.
might have sold some equipment.
Okay,
Most of the time, that's what their amendments are.
Difference in amount for transfer in their capital improvement or special equipment.
And I actually think, like, first rural fire, it was last year sell, so they have excess cash, and I didn't amend their budget last year.
so was Beverly, cash balance transfer of, looks like they,
Sometimes they just don't spend as much as they anticipate.
okay. So then what are our changes under road and bridge and general? We have a higher cash balance, I assume.
Yes, we had a higher starting cash balance.
So we went from a supposed $83,268 to $259,078. And was there anything else? Delinquent tax, we collected some extra delinquent tax. It looks like 10,000, well, 12,000 more than we had anticipated. Do you think that was due to the notice of public sale?
No, well, potentially.
Some of it could have been. Transfer into the special equipment funds, any excess cash.
An additional 2,000 in local sales tax, an additional interest and charges on delinquent tax was 40,000, approximately. Interest on idle funds was an additional 15, 20. Wow, yeah. Almost 25,000. So you totaled all of that, and it's transferring to the capital improvement fund.
Yes, ultimately, that's what we'll do is.
So it's an additional $145,000.
And I think I'll be able to transfer 210 total.
So you're still, the 210 is what you're getting with the 257 minus the 63.
The 210 is basically what I do is I take what our cash balance is and I subtract out what we currently spent and what our required carryover is, what our prior year expenses are, and I come up with a total, and then I take the current budget that's remaining and take out any prior year expense that we might. Basically, I forecast the same amount of prior year expense that we received from the year before. And then
Because
wherever
it's
that
January, February,
variance
March,
is-
right? Through March, is that
Yeah.
we're billing back through March, okay. So we have,
Well, then I take the difference, so we'll actually have more to be able to transfer because the funds
we're increased from the additional revenue, okay. That's the general fund, and then in the highway department, we have a much greater cash balance, from 76,000 to 335,000. Delinquent tax from 5,000 to 30,000 allocated for this department. But is that out of the total? No, because that's separate from the general. So that's in addition too, right?
road and bridge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm saying that right. And then
And then I think they had some sale of equipment.
the 48,000
Mhm.
sale.
I just can kind of consolidate everything because there's not enough lines on this form for what we have in our budget.
I'm just looking to mark the changes. So, and then, so the additional funds will be transferred to the special machinery fund and the special highway improvement fund.
That's a decision you guys will have to make when we get ready, but, that L&M bid that you guys approved to do the bridge on the highway, or on the old highway, there isn't enough funds in the road, or in the special bridge fund to pay for that, so I've taken that out of their Fund 11, so kind of adjusted it down, so there's not as much to transfer this year, because you approved that project in 2018, regardless of when we pay it, it has to be paid out of the 2018 budget, so it'll have to come out of the road and bridge fund.
So, are you saying that this 120,000 that you have allocated right now to go into the special machinery and special highway improvement fund that's the remainder less what you've already committed to cover that project?
I think that's what you guys, I did split them. Last year, you guys chose to put everything into special machinery, which was like 375,000. This year, you're only gonna have a total of 180,000 to transfer, so it's kind of up to you guys.
But that's with paying the 2018 bill for that
L&M.
recently approved contract. Okay.
Correct.
So you just took that and split it between those two funds?
Yes,
is what
when
you're
I
saying?
did this, but then when I looked back today to see what you guys had done last year, but that's a choice that you guys will have to make when we get to these resolutions. You guys can decide how you want to split it. But since last year you put everything in special machinery, I just went ahead and put it all in special machinery, but we can split it still.
What did we budget to put into special machinery already?
Originally zero. So
Zero
that's
for
where
this year.
I put 60 and 60 on this budget sheet, not knowing what you guys wanted to do.
Normally, just whatever cash carryover. is.
All goes into there. But, okay. Do we have questions about the budget amendments?
discussion, I'd ask for a motion. The budget amendment for 2018.
I move to approve the amended budget for 2018.
I'll second. Is there any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Need
I
to
have
sign,
to sign.
how many?
Just one. Yeah, you can keep that one for your records.
Okay, Sionia, now we're ready for you.
I have here copies for all of you for the, you had requested quotes for the classifieds last meeting when I was not here. I have a copy for all of you. Next Tech business is free, one ad at a time all year long, but you can go up to 3 at a time all year long, and that's $3, and that's via phone, okay? And then the next quote is for the Sionia Journal. It's for 5 days at a time, and it's $297 for a ad the size of the 3rd page.
Do you have to do 5 consecutive days? Or can you pick-
That's normally what they run, because they run it Wednesday through Sunday. And then if you want it again the next 5 days, and they start again on Wednesday through Sunday. But she said, I would assume you can probably just do Wednesday and Sunday, but the norm is Wednesday through Sunday,
Okay.
and then not on Monday and Tuesday. There was, KSAL. I wasn't for sure if you guys wanted KSAL link, which is just on the computer where they can fill out the app, or the Rocking M Media, which is on the radio. So I put out things for both of them and have not received any response on those yet. Okay. And then I was told that you guys maybe wanted to make some changes to the EMS director position. So I gave you each copies of those.
Thank you.
Now, am I correct in I'm understanding that we're taking applications for the EMS director position until January 25th?
That is what we discussed.
Okay. Okay.
However, if we don't have additional ads in,
Well, there's ads out right now. It was just requested quotes for these,
right?
which I could actually get these ads.
Yeah, I mean, if we're only going to
Place.
go a week at a time,
Right.
I suppose. I mean, can you opt for 3 days one week, 2 days the next week, and that's still your 5-day price? Did you have to?
I can find out for positive, but I would say that may be an option. Yes.
Just to spread it out. Over the-
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't for sure exactly what, anything you wanted to change on these, so.
Well, there were some changes made when we reviewed them last year.
Right now, the EMS director is a part-time. It's my understanding that you're looking at going to a full-time and possibly a part-time.
Well, we had only budgeted for the exact number of health insurance policies that were currently being utilized
Gotcha.
before the notice of the resignation. So I don't, unless we made some changes for the entire department, I don't know that we would be able to offer a full benefits package. I mean, at least that's what we discussed. It would have to be a part-time position with
Possible full-time?
maybe into the next year's budget if we weren't, if we budgeted that way for it, but the way it sits right now, it would be a part-time employee with not the health benefits package.
Okay.
That's my understanding of it.
It could be a full-time employee, but it would have to be someone who's currently employed, and then the director would be a part-time of his position, or her position, or whatever. That would be an increase in the,
So if we
But-
have,
I'm
for
talking
human
about if
resources.
we're advertising for this position, though, we're advertising for part-time without health benefits.
yeah.
right, that was my next question. So the ad should just say part-time. The ad itself should just say part-time. Because I think right now it states part-time or full-time.
I think it says could be.
Okay.
It said, we are looking for a motivated, committed individual to join our team. The ideal candidate will have extensive EMS operational knowledge along with supervisory and management experience. Applicants must possess valid driver's license, EMT certification, physical capacity profile, application, job description, and benefit information is available from the human resource officer. So really, it doesn't disclose. It just says they would have to inquire.
Okay.
Well, that's the ad. That's the one that went into the paper, right?
Yes, I think so. John placed it because I was gone because I had a death in
Yes,
my
I'm
family.
sorry to hear about
Thank
that.
you. Thank you, I appreciate that.
So you have not received any calls yet?
I have gotten one physical application and I have gotten 2 inquiries via email where they're going to come in and fill in an application and speak with me.
So then we need to give you instructions on what the details are as to what you can disclose for their...
Right.
Okay. One physical application and 2 inquiries, you said? And that
Both.
was just from the local papers?
Yes, both via email.
And have you responded yet? Or
Yes, I responded to both. One of them was actually just this morning, and I emailed that person back and I asked her to come on in and fill out an application and all that.
Okay. Okay, so you had 2 separate position...
Right, they're
job
both
descriptions.
the same job description. I just labeled one full-time, one part-time, and changes that we need to, that you wanted to make.
Okay. So where do you want to start with that one? I'll put them side by side here. They're identical as of now?
Right,
Okay. So we need to distinguish what that would be,
right.
and whether or not you're going to tell this person this is potentially going to develop into a full-time position, we're keeping it
Right.
part, okay.
Right. Like, for instance, if would we want the part-time EMS director to be responsible for, like, interviewing into the interviews, that type of stuff, or if it just went the full-time?
No, I think part-time went to two also.
Okay. I personally didn't know if there was going to be many differences between the two. You know what I mean? Because technically they both have the same title, just,
I think the first thing we need to correct is we need a date on these, because when I look back, I had asked for the previous job descriptions,
Right.
and this is all prior to you, but none of them are dated, so to chronologically figure out where the corrections were made is just,
Well, the one was way old.
yeah, I have copies of the prior one. At that time, it was called the Ambulance Service Director.
yes, I have that one.
Okay.
Are you saying, so what are we assigning the date on that one, the ambulance service director that was titled that?
Dawn, do you know?
I didn't see a date on it, but
Yeah.
There's not, I would,
I can tell you the ones I emailed you.
yeah.
Mhm.
Let me just get into it.
Now, this one, the current one says revised 12/24/18, but that can't be right.
Oh, I'm
'cause I
sorry,
didn't
that
make any
is-
revisions on it.
Maybe you just printed
I
it
just
and
printed it, yeah.
I see
The
that.
older job description says it was last modified 4/14/17.
14.
Now, I don't know if that means that they just went into it or happened to click save.
Well,
That's the
regardless,
last
it was
time it
still
was
there.
accessed.
So then the next one that became titled EMS director instead of ambulance service director, when was that created then? Because there are some significant changes there that should be
That would have
Address.
been in 2018 when you guys did it.
when Deborah did it.
Yes.
we went all
with you
through
That
all
was
the
done.
job descriptions.
Right, right. So, interestingly, the difference between the 17 and 18 requirements for the director, if you look down, like fourth bullet point up from the first paragraph under essential functions, supervises for patient billing, collecting patient fees, receiving money, and bookkeeping. That has been a requirement in the past. I'm not sure why that was taken out. I apologize. That totally slipped by me when we had the last human resource revision of this.
That was put in probably when they hired the first full-time director, because that was the only time that there was ever billing done at the EMS.
Well, it says
And that lasted
supervises.
for what, about a year?
Well, it says
something like that.
supervises for patient billing, but we know that Dawn's office had been doing it for several years. How many
Yeah.
years?
And the problem is I can't really supervise something that I don't have access to.
But the only time it was ever down there was the first
When
full-time
Superman
director
was
they
there.
had it down there.
Yes, but then they still had responsibility, the ambulance director still had responsibility to bring up the ambulance runs and ensure that everything was being completed
Well,
and that they were being coded properly. And that's what has broke down because they didn't print then anymore once,
Once they went to electronic filing.
well, even, no, they didn't print anymore once Brad took over. They were printing the ambulance runs before. So I had absolutely no idea that the ambulance runs were not being billed because I didn't see the stack of ambulance runs sitting on the desk anymore.
regardless, I think what I'm trying to accentuate here is there was a definite change. And like I said, I apologize. I did not catch that. Basically, the change in the job description took away the responsibility of the director of the department to supervise the monetary flow. And I think that definitely needs to be reestablished. How can we have a department head that's not responsible for its own income and evaluating and assessing and keeping track of? I mean, they prepare the budget, so why wouldn't they continue to monitor the cash flow and collections? And even though we're outsourcing the billing process, we still have to have employees that are inputting the information which would require the director's supervision, and then making sure that that money is actually collected and then deposited, which, not physically deposited, but budgetarily deposited. So that would be my number one concern with the change that happened apparently just in 2018 with the requirements of the department head. But since we have an appointment here at 1:45 p.m, maybe we should go through this and do a few more revisions. And I think as you continue to get inquiries into the position, it's hard to tell someone that we don't know
Right.
what that entails. But as of right now, monetarily, we can only afford to replace what we had, which was the part-time with no benefits. It was 0 benefits. It wasn't even a part-time benefits package.
No.
Because it's very
Under
part.
30, right?
Yeah.
If it's over 30, we have to do the part-time benefit. Okay, so it's under 30, which would be, so that's what you're going to have to say for now.
Okay.
And you can say that if they're interested in that, we may be looking at some changes, but there are no guarantees, especially not for this budget year.
Okay.
Does that help, at least for
Yes.
a week? And maybe we can do some more clarification
Okay.
on the particulars. And I would say, as far as whether we go with part-time or full-time, we still need to reevaluate what those essential functions are. And maybe look back to that previous, the prior, the prior requirements are a little more thorough. But that seems to be the main change.
Okay, I have a couple other things. if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay. I know you all know about this, the project from the school.
Oh, the
Their-
intern.
Right, the intern. I just wanted to give you an update. I did talk to an office manager, and she said she would be more than willing to have this help her, if that's okay.
Office manager here.
Highway department.
Okay.
Because she said she could use somebody to file.
Filing
that
and
kind of
sorting
stuff.
clerical things.
Right. My main concern was with this was I didn't really think that we should probably have anybody in the courthouse just because of confidentiality. Which the highway department stated that everything pretty much confidential for them stays with me. So it would be okay with her if we approved this and allowed somebody. It would not start until the beginning of the school year, the 2019 school year, and then they have to be with us the whole school year, and we actually have to grade them, do reviews on them, all that type of stuff.
So, what are our obligations to it? I'm sorry, we did read the letter when it was first brought to us, but is it a minimum wage? What is the?
Yes, well, we'd actually have to set up interviews with high schoolers that are interested in it. We'd have to do an interview, and then we'd have to choose one, and then we'd have to offer them a wage. And then,
And a minimum number of hours?
well, basically, yeah, what they're gonna do is they have what's called flex scheduling, where they'll like go to school half the day, and then like maybe come to work half the day. And it will vary, we'll have to get a copy of their actual flex schedule. Like, because some kids will go to school in the morning one day and then go to school in the afternoon the next day. So we'll have to actually obtain a copy of the student that we choose as flex scheduling, so we know how to schedule them. And then we have to offer them a wage.
But I'm saying, is there a minimum number of weekly hours?
No, there's no.
So we could do 2 hours a day for.
Right,
So 10 hours a week or something.
right.
And I think the wage was questionable, because it says in there that it's either, it can be paid or it doesn't have to be paid. I read that when I was rereading it out. It's on the front page.
Do they get credit hours for it?
Yes. We actually have to give them reviews and meet with the school, like I would have to meet with their counselor, sponsor, whatever they are, meet with the principal, discuss their performance so they can get graded on it, and all that type of stuff.
It's on this page. I think it's in this.
Does it say how long a period of time this is
The,
for?
the entire school year.
The entire school year?
Now, there may be a flexibility to it depending on the age of the student. Say if we hire like somebody that's 18, they could possibly help, like maybe John Paul, do yard work, shovel snow, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think we need some more information.
Okay.
I thought we left it the other day as if they were gonna, if it was a paid position, but I could be wrong.
I read it and it's, well, it does say, but it also says volunteering.
We need to get that clarified.
I'm not really sure that they can have them earning a paycheck and also earning credits for graduation. But
Well, I don't know.
I'm not, I'm almost thinking that would have to be after school and not during school.
Okay,
But
so I can contact them and
just
clarify
get a
that.
little more
because-
information. And
Somewhere
I mean, it'd be
read
great
that.
to have some clerical help, and if they're going to be accredited through the school, that's wonderful. But for us to hire someone is a little different story, in my opinion, because we prepare a budget with a certain
Right.
idea of how that money is going to be spent.
And it does read kind of contradictory to itself because it does say volunteer and then it says wage.
Okay.
So I will clarify that.
Okay.
with them. Okay. Thank you, Dawn. And then I also have some evaluations, if you wanted to review them now.
No.
Okay, all right. Save it for next
Is it
time.
like all from one particular department?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's all I have then. Thank you.
Would you say it's 50% of a department, or
It's the full department.
oh, it's one whole department? Okay, maybe just schedule that on an agenda
Sure.
and we'll
Sure.
do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, David.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Morning.
and Happy New Year to everyone.
Not yet.
Well, we're only hours away from
Oh,
the New
okay.
Year, and I've come here today to offer 3 New Year's resolutions I hope the Board of County Commissioners considers next month. But first, I want to thank Commissioner Finch for his public service to this county. Thank you very much for all the work you've done. Commissioners have a very tough job and often face more criticism and complaints than thanks, no matter what they vote on. I'm very grateful for your public service, and I wish you much health, much happiness, and much continued success as a soon-to-be retired County Commissioner Emeritus. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, here is my first New Year's resolution. It is my hope that the Lincoln Board of County Commissioners resolves to request that the State Attorney General's office provides a formal training session for Lincoln County and its officials and other taxing divisions of the state for the Kansas Open Meetings Act. They may also be willing to provide training for the Kansas Open Records Act, as well as local conflict of interest and substantial interest disclosure requirements for public officials and public employees. The Attorney General's office regularly travels throughout the state of Kansas, year-round, offering these training sessions to counties and municipalities that request it. And the Attorney General's office could likely include Lincoln County in its 2019 schedule. But in the meantime, If any commissioner or the county attorney or any other public officials would like training sooner, the AG training team will be in Manhattan on January 29th to provide training on the Kansas Open Meetings Act. And the county, I'm sure, can cover travel costs and any of their expenses if they choose to for officials who want to attend that training session. But in the meantime, let me explain to everyone what the Kansas Open Meetings Act is and why it's so important. This is what is stated at the very beginning of this act by the Kansas legislature. In recognition of the fact that a representative government is dependent upon an informed electorate, it is declared to be the policy of the state that meetings for the conduct of governmental affairs and the transactions of government business be open to the public. Let me read this one more time. In recognition of the fact that a representative government is dependent upon an informed electorate, it is declared to be the policy of the state that meetings for the conduct of governmental affairs and the transaction of government business be open to the public. Let me read exactly what the legislature requires you to do when motioning for an executive session. This is contained in Kansas Statute 754319, Section A. Upon formal motion made, seconded, and carried, all public bodies and agencies subject to the Open Meetings Act may recess, but not adjourn, open meetings for closed or executive sessions. Any motion to recess for a closed or executive meeting shall include 1. A statement describing the subjects to be discussed during the closed or executive meeting. 2. The justification listed in subsection B for closing the meeting. And 3. The time and place at which the open meeting shall resume. The complete motion shall be recorded in the minutes of the meeting and shall be maintained as a part of the permanent records of the public body or agency. Discussions during the closed or executive meeting shall be limited to those subjects stated in the motion. Mr. Wallace, last week you made no mention of any subject and you've acknowledged the mistake. The Attorney General issued an opinion this year about this very kind of thing. It was opinion number 2018-1. And here is part of the summary of the opinion. For the officer who makes the motion, it states, the statement describing the subjects to be discussed must be more than a generic or vague summary or a list of the subjects to be discussed. And for the clerk, the summary says the recording of the motion is not complete if it merely summarizes the actual motion in a manner that addresses only the 3 statutory elements, but omits other content of the motion as it was in fact made. The opinion also makes clear that you can't talk about anything else once you close the doors than what the subject described. Doing so violates the spirit of the Act. And in other counties when this happens, participants have reported those violations to the Attorney General's office. For as rare as it is for the Attorney General or a county attorney or district attorney to hand out $500 fines under this statute, my reading of past complaints and dispositions of complaints leads me to conclude that this is precisely when most of the fines are handed out. You must respect this law and also self-police it as soon as the doors are closed. Please do not violate the spirit of the law and do not tolerate it if anyone else in an executive session does either. Attorney-client privilege is not a subject, but it is a justification. It's the second justification that's part of the motion requirements. I'm not going to read the 15 justifications that are generally included when you make one of the motions, but I believe other municipalities I've seen will keep a copy of the statute that lists the 15 justifications, and when a motion is made after you've described the subject to which you're going to discuss, you read one of the actual justifications verbatim. This will actually help the county clerk because she can then know exactly which one you did, and if you read it verbatim, it saves her a necessary step when she records the motion completely as made. I recommend that you seek this training as soon as possible. Mr. Wallace, I know as a former teacher you appreciate the value of good education. I recommend that you and others become educated in this statute very soon. There's a lot to learn. As I mentioned, the very next training session is in Manhattan, but you can also contact the Attorney General's office and get Lincoln County on the schedule as soon as possible. This is information that would benefit the county and everyone. I have 2 more resolutions to make. The second resolution I hope you consider as soon as possible is as follows. That the Lincoln Board of County Commissioners resolves to prohibit the Lincoln County Highway Department from entering private property or providing any work using public vehicles or labor without first obtaining written consent from the landowner, along with a County Board of County Commissioners approved contract stipulating the exact work to be done and including proper protective liability releases for the county and any cost being charged according to a published schedule of labor and equipment rate costs, assuming there's not a reciprocal or other benefit conferred to the county. There's a statute in Kansas, KSA 21602. It defines official misconduct and, in some cases, reaches the level of a felony if in any way, in a private matter, that confers the benefit being done exclusively to the officials involved or others. As you imagine, public vehicles and labor should be used for public good. There can be shared benefit, but there has to be some benefit for the county. That's why these agreements have to be in writing. It can also prevent you from being sued. I have one more resolution that I hope the board will consider next month, which will make our local government more transparent and less costly to taxpayers. I hope that next month the Lincoln Board of County Commissioners resolves to prohibit county commissioners from seeking and receiving mileage reimbursement when they drive between their homes and the courthouse for commissioner business. It has been a long-standing practice by some commissioners in this county to put in for mileage reimbursements every time they attend a commission meeting or other matter in this courthouse. Commissioners are already paid well over $1,000 a month and are eligible for health and other benefits for being a commissioner. It is highly questionable why they should be able to get 50 cents a mile or more simply to show up for their regular work duties in their regular place of work. The IRS does not allow reimbursement for commuting as being a deductible expense, and also has ruled that public employees and officers can't receive it as a fringe benefit allowance either. It's taxable as income. It's a perk. Other county employees do not receive this benefit. They can't put in for driving to work. So in my opinion, it's unfair for any commissioner to do this. Lincoln County, however, is not the only other county where this is being done, and there have been complaints, including to the Attorney General, and they issued an opinion on this. First, it's legal. However, the Attorney General opined that it's only legal if you can articulate how it serves the public good. I searched previous commission meeting minutes as far as I could, and I don't recall ever seeing a resolution from this county commission that articulates how reimbursing commissioners for commuting to the courthouse serves the public good doctrine. I hope that the commission can simply resolve to prohibit the practice and authority you have. The county spends a great deal of taxpayer money already to subsidize a shuttle service. Anyone who is unwilling to drive themselves to the courthouse for a commission meeting can pay as little as $3 each way, and this includes commissioners. There's simply no justification for any commissioner to charge the county as much as $20 every time they attend a commission meeting on top of their regular salary and benefits. These reimbursements cost the county thousands and thousands of dollars. It's not a trivial amount. I've seen the public records. There are certainly better purposes this money can go to besides the pockets of some commissioners. If the commission does not feel the current salary and benefit package afforded to commissioners adequately compensates them for commuting costs to your regular place of work here, then I suggest you raise your salary. But please end this questionable practice and make it illegal in this county for commissioners to do this. Thank you for your time. I will email the clerk all the statutes and Attorney General opinions that I referred to in this morning's presentation, and perhaps she can forward them to you. Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, David.
Thank
You're welcome.
you.
Brand, every year, you have something to say or just here?
Didn't have anything to say, just here to observe, kind of question where we're at on leadership at this point.
We haven't appointed anyone on a temporary basis, but I suppose maybe we should down there. Brett's last day was the 28th, so there is no one in charge. I think it would be probably the thing to do to appoint somebody temporarily that can make a decision down there.
Could you fill at least me in on what he was doing as far as what needs to be done
Scheduling,
now?
going over the run reports, making sure all the boxes are checked and things are complete and the reports are done the way they need to be to go to the leases.
We have, at any point between the first of the year and March, we'll have inspections.
Yeah.
And so we gotta get all the Q&A stuff done for that and everything ready for that.
And they were done January 7th last year,
Yeah.
so it's
Also-
coming up pretty quick.
Repairs and stuff always
Right.
went through.
And he's been doing payroll time sheets to turn into the clerk's office. Been covering on Wednesdays, which I believe he is still planning on doing. The schedule is completed for January, but in the next 3 weeks, we're gonna have to have the February schedule out, which is prior to your deadline.
And out of curiosity, who is the senior most employee in that department right now as far as time and credentials?
That would be Dale Detmer.
Damn different.
You're taking care of all the training stuff, aren't you? You're the training
I do
officer
all
and
the
all that,
training.
all right? You're also the director in Bennington?
Yes, sir. And I'm listed as the program manager through the Kansas Board of EMS for Lincoln County EMS to authorize me to do all that training.
Training, you're the training program manager?
Yep.
So you were doing all of the training even when Brett was
Yes.
inactive, even though that's part of the job description for the director, you were
Fred
performing that
asked me
duty.
to do so.
He assigned his duty of training to you, and you became the training program
Yes,
director.
he delegated that to me.
Okay.
They're in the Board of EMS is in a weird stage right now where they're doing away with training officer 1 and 2, and the only training that they're going to allow as a position is an instructor coordinator. I am a training officer 2. However, by doing away with training officer 1 and 2, they're making it so that subject matter experts can teach the courses. And all the courses I teach, I've been through, so that makes me a subject matter expert.
So do you get additional compensation for doing your training?
I get paid my hourly wage while I'm there to teach, is all.
When we send you and you're on our time, is what you're saying?
No, when I come to Lincoln, the second Wednesday of every month to teach, I turn in hours for the time that I'm there
For
teaching.
being here at your regular wage, hourly wage?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't normally work Wednesdays, so that's additional time for me.
Okay, I understand.
And it usually equates
Do you
to
do that training other places?
I teach in Bennington also. I'm the service director for Bennington. I've been over there for 9 years as the director.
And then, is that the same compensation? When you're there to do training, you just turn in for your hourly wage? Is
I'm a
that-
salary position over in Bennington.
So you don't get any compensation for doing additional training there?
No.
But as of right now, in order to teach a class, you have to be a TO or a TO2. And as far as I know, Brett does not have that credential.
I'm the only one in the department
Right.
that is still a training officer through the Kansas Board
That's
of
the
EMS.
reason why he does all the teaching.
Like Derek was doing that before.
He was the instructor coordinator before, but it wasn't really getting done before. We went for the first 2 years I worked here, even as a part-time employee, without a monthly meeting, without training, until Brett asked me to start doing the training, and then we've had consistent training for over a year now.
I remember that from last year. You did start doing it. So So what training is coming up that needs to be complete?
Today's the last day for everybody to recertify that expires in 2018, and I've got 2 techs that I'm waiting on to give me some hours to hopefully get them recertified today. And then we do a monthly training every month. Jerry and I sat down and made out a schedule so that if all the employees attend each meeting, they can recertify within 1 year, even though their certification level, their certification only has to be renewed every 2 years. We offer twice the training that they need to recertify, basically, to make sure that way if somebody has to miss a meeting because they're out harvesting or something like that, then they can make it up in another meeting. And we keep a 2-year training schedule up to date all the time. But my intent being here today was just to find out where we're at on leadership and answer any questions you guys might have.
Thank you. Is there someone that was doing any of these other tasks for Brett as you were doing the training for him? Like anyone that was doing his scheduling for him, or?
Not that I'm aware of, he was doing all that stuff. Shiloh does do some of the ordering, but she kind of is taking care of the inventory stuff, and she does a lot of the ordering products. That would be the only other thing.
Dee Dee, would you be willing to contact the department and inquire about anyone willing to step up and take on those types of responsibilities?
Sure. Absolutely.
Not to speak out of turn, but I am willing to do that if you're interested in that.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael, we need to move on real quick. You bring that in with you when you come in next week, Katie.
I will.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Update on OS 87 and OS 105 bridge replacements. Both of those are still at the same level as what they were last week. Due to the holidays and the weather, they just have not got much accomplished on either one. I have a couple pictures for you to look at. Some point last week, we had a partial block fall out of our building. And I don't know what direction you guys would like to go on that as far as seeking some sort of repair so we don't get somebody injured with a block falling. If we need to do some kind of a inspection on it and find someone to do the repairs, or how you guys want to address that.
Looks like it needs some
Block is
tuck pointing.
outside split off of it, probably because it got some moisture behind it, froze.
All of that is deteriorated. Yeah.
Building's starting to show a lot of age. A lot of the windows and everything's, wood structure's dry rotted and whatnot there too.
I would say you probably better see a structural. To get an opinion anyway.
Does anybody have a avenue for me to start looking down? I'm kind of,
I would think you could either call Travis Schwartzfeger or Dennis Cross. Either one could give you an opinion on
okay.
what caused it. I would say it got moisture behind it.
Important thing is see how many more of them are that way.
Yeah. You know,
Well, all of that mortar is deteriorating. It's going to need some TLC by a mason.
Yeah, and we did get the
One
roof
time.
sealed up here a couple of years ago, and that's a lot better for us, so. Not having issues there like we used to. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you this week.
So before Jennifer comes back, she's scheduled right now for us for the nursing home, which I assume is going to be executive session. That's what we talked about last week. And I was not privy to the information that was discussed in the prior executive session that wasn't on the agenda for last week, so I'm going to ask for that so that that information can just be disclosed to me. Are we waiting on Jennifer for something specific, Dawn, or is she not coming?
She asked me how far you guys were running behind, and I told her 15 minutes.
Okay,
She said
perfect.
she'd come back.
Well, but I guess I don't have a,
Oh,
if she's
I
not
can
here, we don't
text
have an
her.
attorney.
She just went upstairs.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
She's on her way.
Thank you. Jennifer, if you don't mind, I was going to ask for an attorney-client privilege session just for 5 minutes so that you could fill me in on the one that was called last week
Yes,
when I wasn't here.
I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'll need an additional one after that's done.
Yes, I figured for the nursing home.
Information
Okay.
With Mr. Hay from Lincoln Park Manor.
Okay, so we're going on 11:19. I move to enter into executive session in order to be informed of the content of the prior week's executive session, which I did not attend. Subject matter unknown. For consultation with an attorney for the public body or agency which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. I don't know what number that is. Pursuant to KSA 754319, I don't know what number number 2.
I know you're making that motion in good faith, but referring to the descriptive of the subject as a matter that was not previously disclosed
Is not
is
a
still
subject.
generic or vague. So I'd recommend that you ask the board or anyone that attended the executive session,
To provide a subject
without
matter.
revealing legally privileged confidential data, make a subject declaration of what was discussed last week so you can make the motion properly. Because as the motion's made, I'm providing notice, I'll file another complaint with the Attorney General's office.
Fine.
Okay?
Would someone like to disclose the subject matter so that I may include it in my motion?
My understanding, I think, is what I'm going into is regarding the Lincoln County, Myers versus Lincoln County lawsuit. It's
Okay.
public record. It's been
Okay.
filed.
Okay.
I just assumed that was
So then I
understood last week.
amend my motion to include when I said subject matter unknown, if we may amend that to say lawsuit, Lincoln County, Meyer, well, what did you say, Jennifer?
Meyer versus Lincoln.
Meyer versus Lincoln County, thank you.
Filed in Lincoln County District Court. As a matter of open record, and public record filing it.
Thank you.
You got all that, Don?
Yes.
I'll second. Is there any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. President.
The three commissioners and Michael and Jennifer.
Michael,
Randy.
excuse.
I was too.
He's not a sworn-in member of the commission, therefore I believe he's not part of the client body.
I believe
would-
we can ask anyone
I
in
think
the
Michael can be
executive session.
excused, because I think that I can deal with it.
Okay.
I'm referring to Randy as commissioner-elect.
So the commission and the attorney.
Well, you want me now? I was last week because they made a motion to.
No, I'm
to
not
let
holding
me-
you, you're blameless in anything that happened.
Well, I know, I'm not saying it.
I just
But
don't-
I was in here because they made a motion to let me in here last week.
Absolutely, I know.
So what's the problem?
Attorney-client privilege is a privilege that can be violated if they don't adhere to it. And my concern is because you're not sworn in as a commissioner, you're not part of the public body, and I don't want the county to put themselves in any jeopardy that might let someone force them to reveal confidential stuff they'd like to keep privileged under the attorney-client privilege if they violate it in the meeting. I figure you're going to be a commissioner next week.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks. So I think you'll have an opportunity to go back into executive session under the attorney-client privilege and be briefed on everything that they're talking about.
Well, I've been in several based on different things because they're wanting to get me up to speed on this stuff. Is that illegal?
I'm going to defer to the county attorney's
I wouldn't be
opinion.
asking him that, but let's get it started. Let's move.
Okay, I'll get on it.
I think I said 5, right, John? Yes.
That's what I have.
I would like to suggest that since we have a request for an additional executive session for the nursing home topic, if anyone has any additional information that they'd like to pose or present to the board or questions they'd like to pose, maybe we could do that now, since we think we're going to go in for about a half an hour. That way, I doubt we're going to have, we don't have anything else on the agenda after this, so I doubt we'll have any other portions to the meeting. So my suggestion is we just open it up if there's anything else we need
Well,
to discuss.
You'll have resolutions to transfer ending cash, and you'll have approval of accounts payable and payable. And I think there's
Oh,
a
it is
statement.
the last day of the month. Okay, okay, okay. So I'm sorry. We do have additional business, but it's related to payroll, accounts payable, and resolutions to approve regarding the budget amendment that we voted on earlier.
I have one question, if it's okay. With regards to the civil suit, CV case 2018 number 6, the Myers versus Western Electric Co-op in Lincoln County, I believe there were stipulated motions for dismissal back on November 27th, dismissing the case as the parties agreed to a compromise settlement. Has the settlement been reached? I assume they stipulated in front of the judge that they had an agreement, and settlements are accessible open records. So I'm just asking, because I didn't mention anything really about the suit during my presentation, because I would never want to hurt the negotiating standpoint for Lincoln County no matter what happened. But at the same time, if it's settled, the case is settled, I'd just like to know, is the county commission going to look at what happened, see if this was avoidable, and as my suggested resolution made, require the highway department to have written permission from landowners in the future under contract so that it's clear what the landowner is allowing, and that we're not conferring benefits to anyone that is not, legal. And we may never know all the facts because it was a he said, she said suit, but up until now, it's pretty much been kept secret as to what your actions and your discussions about the lawsuit has been. And
Well, I think I can clear that up to a certain extent. It's the insurance company's deal, it's not ours. We're not involved in any negotiations on it whatsoever.
this is K-Camp,
That's correct.
And
So
it's
any
K-
information would have to come from KK.
and it's their attorneys.
Yes.
I mean,
Okay.
we do not participate in any negotiations. It's all the insurance company's deal.
Excellent. Well, they're a public body, so.
But as far as, we have no participation or yes or no or anything else in the thing, so.
From the onset, we've had no interaction with the process. And as far as what I understand, we turned it in to the insurance as, this is the situation, and they took it from that point on.
Will you be reviewing what happened and look at whether policies can be put into place to prevent this from happening again?
Well, I can appreciate what you're saying, David, but sometimes there isn't time to do that. I mean, what happened there transpired over like a day and a half or 2 day period of time. And, for us to meet, them to meet, everybody get everything done when you've got a tree that the power line's been taken down because the tree's getting ready to fall on the road, there comes a time issue sometimes on things. But I can appreciate what you're saying as far as
What
getting
about the other
releases and
9
stuff.
trees, though? Yeah, there were 9 other trees besides the one that the landowner alleges that he only gave permission to cut down 1
Mhm.
tree.
There again, we can allege and,
Would you agree, though, that before trees on private property are taken down in the future, that there should be,
we
to
didn't
protect
take,
the county and
we
its...
didn't take any trees down. We did not take any trees down.
Were there county men and vehicles on the Myers land? It appears from the interrogatories, denials, and admissions that the electric company admitted to felling the trees.
Yep.
But there seems to be that the county's position was that you acted in good faith, which certainly implies that you thought you had permission to enter the property and clear cut all these 75-plus-year-old cottonwoods on property that...
We didn't cut anything.
that assisted
We did not
with,
cut any trees.
Okay, but assisted with the removal and hauling of a significant amount of debris, depositing it in creek areas and a dry pond. That's a substantial amount of county men, labor, resources, and use of public vehicles. For something that large, would you consider in the future requiring written contracts and consent and limits of liability waiver releases?
Possibly. I think we did the work for the power company was who we did the work for.
Do
Who
you
in
have
turn does work
do you
for
have
us.
an intra-local agreement with the electric company that provides some sort of reciprocal benefit?
No, but they do things for us all the time because we don't have a basket truck. So if there's
That would be something to put in writing to protect you, because there are state laws that would normally prohibit that from occurring. So,
I'll segue that and just say I think we had some discussions last year, maybe even the beginning of this year, about us having our equipment being loaned out to municipalities. I think it was at the city of Beverly and maybe even Sylvan. Some of that kind of has been discussed, and I think that's probably where you're going with that.
those are public entities.
Right,
which is
but what
allowed
kind of
here.
agreements do we have, and
For
what is
private-
allowed?
For private companies and private landowners.
I would assume for private it would be nothing. So.
K-Camp offers grants for what they refer to as loss mitigation and casualty avoidance. And I would encourage the county to avail itself of all of the resources and added training that K-Camp offers for the county and law enforcement. I'm sure they have a wealth of suggested policies, procedures that you can use to prevent these misunderstandings from happening in the future, because they can be very costly when they occur to taxpayers. Indirectly, I know the county spends about $130,000 a year that it pays K-Camp for the various coverages that you're currently paying for, and we certainly don't want those premiums to increase more than necessary. And I know that when we have a very low risk of, when you don't have events like this, they offer credits that can actually lower our premiums. And I imagine when we have lawsuits like this probably impairs our ability to qualify for those premium credits.
Rick?
Thank you. Anyone else?
Real quick, not that I'm questioning your decision to contact all the employees by any means, please don't take it that way. I'm just a little concerned where we had our inspection from the Kansas Board of EMS last year on the 7th, that if we don't try to figure this out fairly quickly, I'm not sure where we're at on QA/QI with Dr. Dragoni. That's all stuff that's required by the Kansas Board of EMS to pass and have a positive inspection.
Had Brett set any of that in motion?
I couldn't tell you that. I can't answer
Well, if
that.
he plans on staying on as wanting a shift, I'm sure he can handle that. Are we changing his pay rate? Because my question is, if he's asking for the same amount of hours, which would be a 24-hour shift, which is what he was doing prior, and he was getting paid at the hourly rate that was established for him to be a director, is he going to maintain that pay rate and just not do the director responsibilities now and just take it?
Technically, no, you should reduce his pay by the $5 per hour.
Yeah. Unless he's
What's
gonna,
$5?
unless he's
He
willing.
got a $5 raise to do that, or that was what? So that needs to be figured out.
I assume his letter said the 28th, but I haven't talked to him to see if he is continuing until we appoint somebody or what he is doing, so.
So since his pay rate is going into the next month now, tomorrow would be the 1st, Dee Dee, would you maybe ask him if he can facilitate the inspection? And then at that point in time, we can reduce his pay rate if he's not going to continue with the authority position of director. Does that make sense? Or
We
anyone
can find
object?
out. I can call him or whatever.
I think Dee Dee
Can you make him director for a week just so we don't lose accreditation? Because I think what you're saying is we could lose accreditation with.
Without accreditation, a license to operate as
Oh.
an ambulance.
But we don't know how long it's gonna be. Like, last year it was, Bennington got inspected on the 3rd, Lincoln got inspected on the 7th. But years before that, it's always been March.
Oh,
So we don't know when that inspection will be.
They just call us and say.
You get like 4 or 5 days notice.
Right.
Is all you get.
You can't inquire to them.
No.
so if they show up next week and there's no director, would we lose our license?
No.
No.
Okay.
But if the work
But
isn't done,
all
you
the paperwork and all that stuff has to be in line to pass. the
Yeah, you have to have the paperwork all ready for the inspection. I can check with him and see where he's at on it, if he's done anything on it.
That's a failure of the board. We should have, at the time that we received his resignation, found out what needed to be finished under his supervision. But I think maybe Human Resources would be the proper way to contact him regarding that issue, find out what he's willing to do, and then we can make a decision.
And I could be totally off base, everything could be already done. I don't know that.
Okay. Well, since we're still paying for a director position, let's start there.
It's me. Alexis, exit interviews for people who quit. Do you do them?
I don't think we ever have.
We need to move this along. Mr. Hayes only available for so long.
Okay. I will follow up on that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to move for the executive session if anyone else has anything. I move to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing Lincoln Park Manor. For 30 minutes for consultation with an attorney for the public body or agency, which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship.
A second?
Is there any other discussion? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I just feel bad throwing things across the table. Go past them. Those will be the resolutions that we may or may not do.
The capital improvement is the one that we redo the resolution every year for the purpose of it, right?
For the law.
That we, when we state the purpose and we have like 10 different options on there for, isn't that our own capital improvement for the
County
general?
capital improvement.
Yeah, okay.
The buildings and whatever.
Now, there was about $9,000 left in the nursing home, but I didn't split it out like we did last year in the capital improvement to move that out because I figured Mr. Hay will be remitting another invoice yet to pay out of that.
Yeah,
So,
sure. That sounds good. I'm
And then-
so confused about this road and bridge though. 180 to special machinery, but you had two separate line items for 60,000 into the special.
so when I was doing the budget amendment, I just had a guesstimate of where we were at. Didn't know how many expenses would be and where it was at. So I kind of just modified for because we were able to amend by 120,000 was my estimate. So I just picked something to amend. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But when I totaled out after AP and payroll was done, then and then I took out that L&M,
Okay.
we can actually transfer 180,000. So
I need to step out.
But we didn't allocate anything to go into the special bridge. So how are we determining whether we go into special bridge or special machinery?
you can't go to special bridge. Special bridge is a levy. You could go
Okay,
to special
okay.
machinery or special county road. Now, the special county road funds can be used
On
for
bridges.
bridges if you want to.
So did we allocate anything to be to roll over into that this year for 19?
As of right now, no.
So do we want to?
You can
Split
split
that?
it if you want. Or you can leave it all as and then take out of road and bridge. So the L&M, I had Hannah call down and ask Michael, and the estimate was 130,000. So I reduced that off. So basically, this is kind
From
of
the 300, whatever.
worksheet. So this is the cash required carryover to fund next year's budget, and then prior year 17 expenses comes up with this dollar amount. AP, payroll, L&M, and then we're going to have to transfer special bridges over budget right now. So we're going to take out one of those Westbourne, I think it was Westbourne sales, which I'm assuming is the steel, and correct it and take it out of road and bridge.
Yeah.
So it leaves me with a difference of 192,000 left in excess of cash. So then I looked to see where the budget was at, and I amended the budget, and we had 430,000, so we can transfer like up to 180, because you can't transfer more budget than you have cash. Of course, I didn't realize when I did the budget amendments, they only had $5,000 worth of AP submitted to Hannah to pay, and then by the end of the month, we had $89,000 worth. So it's kind of a guessing game on my part until we get to the end. But technically, you can do whatever you want to. I just kind of went by what we did last year and drew up that resolution, but I can change them.
My personal feeling on that is the 180 into the special machinery fund. I mean, I know we haven't made a decision on machinery purchases, but we're constantly being told we don't have any extra bridge money to do any of these smaller projects. So if we haven't, if we cannot, well, no, you're saying we can do it into the special road.
You
And
go
then
into
it could be
special
used
county
on
road.
bridges. Because I would personally like to see them do the tuck pointing on these stone bridges. I mean, it's been 2 years now we've been talking about it and they haven't done it. That's not a huge job like it is to replace, a 40-foot bridge or whatever. So I think we should split it and allocate half into the special road. That way we can do something with it other than buy machinery.
Okay, so instead of 180, we'll change this one to 190, and then I will get another resolution, or sorry, 290.
Okay.
Sorry, I knew what I was
Can we do
thinking.
that?
It's
You
not
should.
saying it. To 90, and then I will do the other one for the special county road to 90.
I would like to see that.
Okay,
That's fine.
let me fix
It
those.
doesn't matter, it's all gonna come out of the same pot there eventually anyway.
There's something off on the budget now.
They are looking at accounts payable.
That not it, then?
Yes, and then we have the resolutions.
Taxpayer.
Oh, and the tax,
The way the what?
and the tax abatement. Somebody.
No business.
It's a vehicle, I think.
Something.
I didn't say I would go if there's nothing that's,
Okay. That's up to you.
okay. Well, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Christmas holiday lunch? Ah. I got the drag of this stuff. See you guys. Happy New Year.
I make the tea sauce
You're out of here.
I was just talking, she actually met her. Yes, I saw her. Yeah. She's been there 3 times.
Boy, we haven't done any special county road in a long time. I'm gonna just copy the resolution and then it's potential that the KSA will be wrong, but I'll.
And then all the additional revenue from the fire departments, they're just putting it in their own capital outlay. Is
Yes.
Let me know how that is.
guys okay with the amount going into capital improvement fund?
Yes. I mean, from everything I looked at that was different.
I did not do ambulance write-offs because quite frankly, I have no idea what I'm supposed to write off, so still trying to get that caught up, and I'll just plan on doing something in January with that, hopefully. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I looked at it.
Okay.
Do you know what that Kirkham and Michael charge is for? Is that the bridge that they're doing now, or?
Probably.
Is it our monthly fee?
No, it's 9,000 something.
It wouldn't be the regular fee.
No, that's only 1,000 or nine something.
Well, they were filing paperwork on something else too, weren't they? Instead of signs, they were doing paperwork on, what was it?
Yeah, he was working on something on the Vesper Road too.
Vesper Road.
Surely that could have been $9,000.
Um,
It seems more like a bridge.
They're working on another bridge too.
Okay.
Design stuff.
If you would take one and pass it, and then I have the originals so that you guys can keep them.
What's this one?
That is
Oh,
the
oh.
special county road.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
And I think the statute is right, because I think it's based upon the statute of the actual highway department budget. And I looked back in 2003 when we went to special improvement and special something or another. And it was all the same.
You want each one of these separate, Don? Resolutions?
That is up to you guys.
Do you want them separate, or shall we just put them all, lump them all
I
in?
think as long as we identified each different one,
Oh.
we're good.
I'll move we adopt resolution 2018-23, transferring $210,000 from general fund to Lincoln County Capital Improvement Fund. Resolution 2018-24, $90,000 from the Road and Bridge Fund to Special Machinery Fund. 2018-25, $10,000 from the Lincoln County Health Fund to the Lincoln County Health Capital Outlay Fund. 2018-26, $20,000 from the Lincoln County Ambulance Service to the Lincoln County Ambulance Service Capital Outlay Fund. 2018-27, transferring from the general operating funds of the fire districts, Barnard, $1,500. Beverly, $11,500. First Rule, $45,000. Hunter, $75,500. Sylvan, $27,500 into their special equipment funds. And 2018-28, $90,000 from the road and bridge to special county road fund.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Are these the ones you want signed laying here, Don?
Yes, please. And that way you guys can keep copies unless you don't want your copies.
Excuse me, did you say you needed 2 copies?
No, just this one.
Okay.
I forgot about council on aging too.
Can't that just continue?
Yeah, I mean, their terms expire,
Oh, yeah.
but, I'll just give this to you guys. So Terry last week had a question as to whether that was all of them. I saw I kind of rudely did this, but I saw Bob Wilson said Charlene Christmas Eve, and he said Charlene Watson himself and Nancy Nitch are the ones that are up for like reappointment. And I guess it's gonna wait until next Monday.
Do we have anything, I mean, do we have something from them saying they want to do it again, or?
He said they were all 3 yeses, and they thought that Janet Dallin was bringing that in, but he didn't think about that. And then the new was Kathy Moss and
Yeah, the 2 new ones we have.
Jeannie Freeze.
Freeze. I think it's Freeze, yeah.
Janet was gonna bring in something saying they were,
Well, he thought Janet was going to bring me something, but he said he didn't know. He was asked to bring this in, the new board members, but these were the 3 that had agreed, and he didn't think about including them on this list. So.
Is it like of January 1st? Is it?
Yeah, their terms expired December 31st. But I think like last year we didn't appoint until February.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we usually
we could
don't
do it
do it
next
until
week.
we do all the other appointments, so.
Well, a long time ago you used to do it like in November.
Leading up to the next year.
Yeah. So, because I don't know how they can have a council meeting if they're not appointed. So they wouldn't be able to have a January meeting.
Well, they
Well,
won't
if
have
we
it
do
till
it-
the end of January.
They have it the third Tuesday. How does it go? Third Tuesday?
3rd or 4th.
Yeah, but if we wait until February, into
Oh,
February.
yeah.
No, I was just meaning next week.
Oh, yeah.
If that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
We can
keep
wait
that
till next
list
week.
and see if Jan, if I see Jan, I think, ask her if she has something to bring. You better keep that.
Okay.
Those are really-
Okay, we have a tax abatement here. Don't forget to do it.
I would move to do the tax abatement. I don't know what number it is.
the right-hand corner on the top, right,
2018-7,
second.
It's $300 and some dollars.
$321.56 on a Peterbilt truck that was sold. And they didn't report it. There no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Dawn, do you know what the Kirkham and Michael $9,000 bill is?
I don't, but I can go pull it out. I'm assuming it's.
Don't let me interrupt what you were doing. I just figured
No,
you might know.
I'm done. I'm assuming it's a stage billing for
The bridge. That's. I think so too. That's fine.
But I can double check. I can go grab it.
I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I just knew that monthly we get billed that 9 something, and then I saw 9,000 something.
Yeah.
But it
It
must
would
be.
have to be a bridge, I
Yeah.
would think.
That's okay. And is this CDL tuition the one for the new hire? That
There's two of them.
I saw it, yeah, or it says two CDL.
I want to say Gregory May. Nye. He told me his last name is Nye.
I thought we were offering that job, but we didn't offer to pay for the CDL, or did we?
Well,
I think we did.
Dee Dee struggled with that one because she thought that the way that they were going to do was that he had to pay for the CDL up front, and then that you guys would reimburse him. So that's what she told the school, was that he would have to pay. Then Michael apparently come in and talked to her and said he didn't understand why it wouldn't be any different than anybody else. You guys hired him as an employee. So she said, you need to make a decision. They come down, or she came down and had me read back the minutes, and the minutes just said that you moved to extend an offer to him, and it didn't have anything in it about the CDL class. So I told her, I said, tell him to make his decision, and that's the decision that he has to make, and he has to own it. So I hope that's okay.
I think that's what we always have had. And
Well,
then
when they were hired, technically, you probably should not have hired him as a truck driver because he doesn't
I
have the
see.
credentials.
I see what you did. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
You should have
All right.
hired him as an equipment
Yeah,
operator.
yeah, okay.
And then
that was my
transferred
question,
him.
because I thought the job requirement was the CDL.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I see what
That's
you
the
mean.
only position that is actually required that they have prior.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, he has a CDL, it's just a manual or a,
Maybe you didn't have the right class.
yes.
I
So he
think we
had,
did discuss that.
They got it big and you need to know.
and then they told us that they
Because
would
we
make
shared
sure.
50-50 with the other guy that didn't get his recertification or whatever. I think we paid half of it,
Yeah.
but
And then we normally pay for everything for anybody that needs it within the first 6 months. So I just told Dee Dee, have Michael make the decision will stand, and we'll go from there. And I really felt like we probably should have hired him as the equipment operator and then
and then
transferred him.
changed it. Well, yeah.
But they did say that they wouldn't have him driving any
Yeah.
equipment until he has the CDL required to
But we
drive.
should do that next time. What you said. And
But
hire
we're
into the
allowed
highway
to-
department and then change his status.
Yeah.
I move to approve payroll.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Do you need me to give you the amount?
Yes.
208,602.99.
There's no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Okay, and then we have two leases for the copier under the attorney office. Two, 121 and 206. You know why? Contractual services. One says equipment, but they both say copy lease, like copier lease.
Let me go look. My assumption would be one's the lease, and then the other one is probably the copy count. They probably do that quarterly, but. we'll figure out.
Like the difference in the.
Yeah. And it may just be that it's got the wrong person behind too. Was that image quest?
It didn't. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yes, it is Image Quest.
Okay, there was $83 for the highway department, $112.92 for the health department, $5,664 for the county general copier that you guys approved. And then,
Wait, that's not.
that's
okay.
all I have.
No, it's not Image Quest then. I just saw that. Where did I see that?
Maybe US Bank?
What would be the other one?
US Bank, maybe? Are you to the use?
It is U.S. Bank Equipment Finance. 121 and 206 and some change on both of those.
One is the clerk of the court, so the 121.18 is the county attorney, and then the 206.31 is the clerk of the court.
So it's just labeled wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's all I saw.
10.6, I think, I'm pretty sure is distributed. I know it is. One's out of 10.4 and one's out of 10.6, so, just labeled it wrong. Again, we can fix that. Oops.
I don't have a total page on the tables. Do you have a total on your page?
Yeah, I have it total. 400 and some thousand.
There's not one I had noted. By George, I think you're missing a page. Yeah, you're missing page 26. And you can make a photocopy, if that's okay. I'll just
There you
make
go.
a copy.
That's all.
Oh, I bet she didn't update your notebook. Let me go ask her. And I'll get a corrected actually, can I just make up a copy of yours, Agent?
All of mine?
So we had a correction. Does yours have the correction? in
There's a
it?
correction in here.
Yes, you wrote it. You hand wrote it, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
There's a
that.
handwritten one, correction in here someplace.
Accounts payable is, or accounts.
What line?
I'll just run and make a copy. You can.
No, that's fine. I have it in my email.
Okay. Are you sure? Mm-hmm. You guys will sign off on this one? Yeah. If you don't mind, we will just have, I'll have Jennifer sign off.
Okay.
Give you that back then. Yeah, Ladonna had come in and she had asked us to line her off of the legal shield because she couldn't get them to call her back, and I forgot it the month before, so I told her since we had got it situated, we would just go ahead and avoid it.
And that's included in this number.
Yeah.
I would move to approve payables in the amount of $410,717.81.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
thinking about it. Elisa come up to me Friday and said that she has signed a lease with a place downtown to move extension out of the courthouse. They will probably take a couple of months to transition before they do that, but I'm assuming February or March. The refrigerator that is in the break room is actually extensions. It was bought by a grant. They're iffy about whether or not they're going to take it with them or not. So then there's some things that they just don't know who owns what, whose is whose.
Well, we can find a refrigerator if we need to.
And then I would almost suggest that when that transition occurs, that maybe we move the commissioner room where they're at and actually buy a decent commissioner's table. We might be able to bring the other one back, but it'd still be short. And set it up, and then they would have, you know, the width of the room. It'd be shorter, but it would still have the width of the room.
It's kind of wide in there, yeah.
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 So you'd kind of be in the back, and then
Yeah.
the crowd sit around
Yeah.
rather than stacked.
Yeah.
That would just be my suggestion, something to think about.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sure somebody else will be coming down wanting the room, and we still need to worry about adjournment.
Does that mean they're leaving this hallway office too?
I think they're would take everything.
So does that satisfy some of our storage needs? Since we were talking about that building out there, if we had that hallway, that might help, huh? Okay.
And I know she said it might take them a while to get everything completely out, because they have a lot of different stuff in nooks and crannies, but
Yeah.
I told her I didn't think that was a big deal. Just to kind of give you guys a heads up and think about it.
It is.
They're waiting for you.
Trips never end.
Do we have a girl or boy?
This is a girl, Lottie.
Who?
Lottie?
Lottie, Lottie. Lottie. That's kind of an old name.
I know. It's Sam's great grandma.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
How old?
Thursday.
Christmas? No, after Christmas. wasn't it?
Yeah, after. It would have been nice to have been before.
We'll adjourn until Monday, I guess.
Okay, thank
Unless
you.
something unexpected happens.